Passive design thermal properties. In this section, we have to put in the thermal properties of the walls and the glass of each of the project facades. Once again, we have a big table with all the facades. And once again, we are allowed, or we have this function that can copy down the information from the main facade in line 1 to the rest of the facades, because quite often both windows and wall properties will be quite identical. So the first property to put in for the wall is the solar absorptivity. So this is basically how big a fraction of the sunlight is absorbed by the wall. And for this entry, we have put this color scale. So basically, if you have a pretty white facade, then you have a low number, and if you have a more dark surface, then you get closer to 1. So in this case, our building has a fairly white wall, or light colored wall, so we put 0.4. The U value is basically how much heat goes through the wall, and for this, the lower value is good. That means it's an insulated wall, whereas a high number means it's not an insulated wall. So we'll put in 2, a U value of 2 here. These values would often be calculated separately. Then we go to the glass properties of the windows, and here again we ask for the U value. So same thing, a low value means it insulates better than a high value. So in this case we have high performance glazing, so we'll put in 1.5, which is a fairly good U value. And even more importantly, the shading coefficient of the glass. So how much of the solar heat is rejected, you could say, or shaded by the window properties themselves. So a low number is a higher performance glass, and a higher value is a lower performance glass. So in this case, we'll put in, we have a fairly good glazing, so we'll put in 0.35. And then we copy that to all the rest of the facades. And we could say, for example, for the first 5 facades, maybe we have some dark, pretty dark paneling on those next 5 facades. So we can go in and change that, and so on. So that should be quite straightforward. After you have filled in all those values, we go to the thermal properties of the roof skylight. And here we want to know how big a ratio of the roof is taken up by a skylight. So in this case, we have a skylight that takes up 15% of the roof area. So that's 0.15 as a ratio. We also want to know the roof. Is it a light color or dark color roof? How much of the sun is being reflected? So the solar absorptivity, in this case, we have unfortunately a quite dark roof, 0.8. Also, what's the U value of the roof? We have put in some insulation, so 1.2. Yeah, we can maybe make that a little bit smaller, sorry. We'll put it 0.6. And also for the skylight, what's the U value of the skylight? We'll put about 4 in this case. And what is the shading coefficient of the glass? We'll put that at 0.6. And then we click next.